The absence of the truth. Bullcrap prevails. So here come the truth, jokers. Look at what's been going on. All the people are coming out, the dang Walking Dead. You know, the people who don't pay attention to politics until the election cycle comes around. And they get so emotional. They get all into it, and, you know, they pick their sides and they fight against each other. But in reality, they ain't getting nowhere with it. Yeah. So you're falling for the little racist angle. You're fighting each other. You're ripping up the signs. And, oh yeah, let me go to this. This is something here. How is it that this little fake joker right here comes out and endorses Donald Trump? Now, elections are all about perception. So when you see this guy endorsing Donald Trump, you will say, oh, well, Donald Trump is a racist because he's endorsing Donald Trump. But here's the thing. What is KKK? Well, the KKK was created by the Democrats. The KKK still belongs to the Democrats. So this guy right here knows that if he comes out and throws his support behind Donald Trump, it's going to get the reaction of this. That's the only reason why he's coming out and doing that. Lyndon B. Johnson did the same thing in the 1964 election. He made an ad saying that Barry Goldwater was endorsed by the KKK. But how is he going to say that when the KKK is a democratic entity? They are the prop, and I'm talking about the KKK. The Democrats are the most racist party in history, the only party in American history to kill black people because they wanted them to vote Democrat. Lyndon B. Johnson said, I'll have those N-words voting Democrat for the next 200 years. When he was talking about N-words, he was talking about black people. And black people, they still vote Democrat.
So Donald Trump calls for a temporary halt on Muslim immigration from certain Middle Eastern nations until such time as the issues of Islamic terrorism are better understood. And for this, the left, of course, labels him racist and Islamophobic. Well, flash forward to this week, and after relentless Islamist terror throughout Europe, and in particular Germany, the president of Germany's AfD party has also called for a temporary halt on asylum seekers and migrant immigration. America, please take note. Hillary Clinton wants a 500% increase in migrants to the US. Donald Trump, the Republican presidential candidate, is the only person in this two-horse race for the White House who can actually see what's going on and openly speak about it. This is from Breitbart.com. All other sources, of course, below in the description box. The vice president of the right-wing Eurosceptic Alternative for Germany, AfD party, demanded today a temporary end to the granting of asylum to Muslims in Germany, in a clear echo of the policies of Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump. According to Die Welt, Alexander Golland said, "We can no longer afford, for safety reasons, to let more uncontrolled Muslim immigration into Germany." He argued that the right of asylum for Muslims should be suspended immediately until all applicants residing in Germany are registered, monitored, and their applications are processed. We know that it's not all Muslims. We're trying to find out the ones that it is and the ones that it isn't. Seems pretty reasonable. At the beginning of this week of terror, Bavarian Governor Mr. Seehofer also called for an immediate halt to Turkey's EU membership negotiations. He said talks should stop now that Turkey breaks down the rule of law following the failed military coup in Turkey, where the president has had a subsequent authoritarian crackdown. He said Turkey is no longer any kind of democratic state and insisted that unrestricted visa freedom would mean importing Turkish national problems to Germany. The level of terrorist attacks taking place across this continent, in particular France, Germany, and Sweden right now, has become incredibly difficult to keep up with. It's gone from being once or twice per year, which obviously wasn't acceptable anyway, to 2 or 3 every couple of months, and now it's almost daily. Daily in Europe. How could European leaders not have seen this coming? Maybe they did. It's as if Europe is being systematically destabilized. Of course, leftist governments are now being challenged like never before and losing their credibility. Quick! Time to replace our native population by introducing a new welfare-dependent group who will vote for bigger and bigger government. In a video from the rebel media, Lawrence Southern walks around the Calais migrant camp to find only one actual Syrian refugee, just one.
Where are you from?
Pakistan.
Where are you from?
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan?
Yeah.
Where are you from?
Pakistan.
Pakistan? Where are you from?
Sudan.
Sudan? Where are you from?
Sudan.
Sudan? Where are you guys from?
Where from? Egypt.
Egypt. Where are you from? Afghanistan? Sudan?
Sudan.
Sudan? And yourself?
Syria.
Syria?
Yeah.
You're the first Syrian we've met here. This is so exciting, hanging around with a bunch of Sudan guys, because everyone here is from Sudan and Afghanistan. One Syrian refugee we found.
I believe European leaders are only too aware that the vast majority of these men are economic migrants. That's the point. The stories we're hearing now about an elderly priest having his throat slit in a church in Normandy, or a suicide bomber blowing himself up in Ansbach, these are the likes of stories we've been hearing for years from war-torn regions of the Middle East. I hate to break it to you, but these atrocities are now the norm across Europe as well. We've entered into a new unprecedented, dangerous era in European history. European leaders who have supported mass, unfiltered immigration of these military-aged, young, strong men with a set of moral codes and ethics and beliefs that are antithetical to those of Western, secular, free, democratic nations, these politicians now have blood on their hands. Angela Merkel has the audacity to defend Germany's refugee policy following a spate of violent attacks against her citizens because of said policy. Angela Merkel has delivered a staunch defense of her open-door policy towards refugees. Of course she would. She can't admit she was wrong. Insisting she feels no guilt over a series of violent attacks in Germany, a rejection of the humanitarian stance we took could have led to even worse consequences, the German Chancellor said. What? What? Worse consequences for Germany? What are you talking about? Okay, you let in a large group of people. Many of them are peaceful. Some of them have very, very different views on how a society should function. They have very different views on women, on gays, on non-believers, on you name it. Very different views on morality. Some of them are even aligned with terrorist organizations. So when you introduce them into your country and they don't want to integrate and they don't care about your rule of law, they don't care about your culture, or your laws, or your values, you've only yourself to blame. How would there have been worse consequences? I'm trying to understand, Angela. How? It's like you let a terrorist into your country and you get terrorism. If you don't let the terrorists in, you don't get terrorism. It's a very simple equation. How would the consequences have been worse? What shit are you talking now? She added that the assailants wanted to undermine our sense of community, our openness, and our willingness to help people in need. We firmly reject this. I'm sorry, but you're not going to stop this with hugs, with cuddles and kisses. It's not going to happen. Okay, you can have peace and love and unity and all those things, but in order to achieve those, you have to be willing to defend them. In order to have those things, you got to defend them. The West wasn't won with hugs and kisses. I'm sorry, it wasn't. In just 1 week, Germany has suffered an axe attack on a train, a mass shooting in Munich that killed 9 people, a machete attack in which a pregnant woman was killed, and the aforementioned Ansbach suicide bombing. 3 of the attacks were carried out by refugees, and 2 of them, the axe attack in Würzburg, in which 4 people were injured, and the suicide bombing in Ansbach, were believed to have an extremist motive. Appearing resolute and unruffled by the events of recent days, Merkel, who had interrupted a summer walking holiday in South Tyrol to attend the press conference, insisted authorities were carrying out detailed analysis of the attacks and would announce concrete measures that will be taken as a result of them. Yes, new counter-terrorism policies. No doubt these measures will include further free speech crackdowns on social media with respect to any criticism of immigration. For Merkel, the blood of Germans is water under the bridge. In fact, the delusional leader bizarrely framed the death of her own countrymen as some sort of test of tolerance. These were your sacrifices on the altar of multiculturalism, right? The terrorists want to make us lose sight of what is important to us, break down our cohesion and sense of community, as well as inhibiting our way of life, our openness, and our willingness to take in people who are in need. Anxiety and fear can't advise our political decisions, she says. This is despite the fact that back in 2010, she admitted that the multicultural project had failed. Now, humanitarian projects are fine, but we already know that many of these immigrants aren't refugees. So that part of your statement makes no sense. Secondly, the terrorists are already winning because your new increased security measures and police checks will impact upon the average German citizen's life adversely anyway. Cohesion has already broken down. I mean, if you have to declare things like martial law, or you have to increase the military presence on your streets, or just have more police and all this kinds of stuff, you're already starting to lose. You've lost the peace and unity and freedoms that you had before this violence broke out. People are scared out of their minds thanks to your policies. And how dare you say anxiety and fear can't advise our political decisions? Your hands are covered in blood, soaked in the blood of people who no doubt voted for you. There was no necessity to take in these particular murderers behind these attacks. You didn't have to do that. The fear and anxiety of German citizens is justified. Their country is under attack by Islamists. And you're saying that we should just tolerate more of this. This is some sort of sadomasochism. Fear is a sensible response to extreme violence that is threatening your very livelihood, and a good indication that something is very seriously wrong. Now, of course, not all Muslims, etc., etc. I know, we never said it was all Muslims. I said these particular perpetrators, and sadly they come from cultures that are totally at odds with freedom, gender equality, homosexuality, self-expression, democracy, and pretty much everything else that makes the West itself, free and great. Those moderate Muslims who want to integrate, awesome. They can be welcomed into our societies. Those people who want to live in their own isolated communities under a completely different set of rules and then force that upon others, that's where we have problems. Angela, you have lost touch with reality and have betrayed the people you were charged with protecting.